Let me show the diagram once. Let me share the one second. I'm sharing. So let me share this screen once. Okay. Let me just check it out. Where is my can you see this block diagram?
Yes, ma'am.
First thing is make a note of it. Later we'll go back to that two inputs thing. Yeah. So please make a note of this block diagram. I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay. And then I'll let me complete the part to CS by that second one. No, like two inputs R1 and R2. We have done with R1 yesterday. Let me show you with the R2 fast, and then we'll come back to this problem. So please note down the problem. I'll give you some 3 minutes. The block diagram is having the summing elements S1, S2, S3, S4. Okay. And feedback inputs to S1 is negative, S2 is negative, S3 is negative. Okay. And rest all are positive terminals. And for your sake, because in the problems when you have to solve it, it won't be mentioned that TP1, TP2. Okay. For you to understand, for you to get acquainted, I have marked two takeoff points which are present in the problem. One is TP1. Okay. TP1 is having a forward path towards G3, and the same has been derived to H1. So one is going forward, and from the same thing, something is going backwards. So TP1 is there. Fine. Similarly, TP2 is the one which is leading to C of S, which is the output. And again, the same thing has been tapped back to H2. Okay. And also it is tapped back to S1. And you can observe from TP2, the feedback gain is H2 applied to the negative terminal. Fine. And from the same TP2, one more feedback path is applied to S1. So the element within the feedback path, which is having nothing there, can treat it as 1. Okay. So we can say that the gain of that is -1. Okay. So because minus input it is going, right? So we can, when you are solving it, you have to take it as -1. Fine. If you, one of you can tell me once you, another 2 minutes I'm giving. Once you start, once you complete it, you please, one of you can tell me that it has been done. Kirti Gowda, Kirti, are you there? Sakshi,
Yes, ma'am.
how are you, Sakshi?
I'm fine, ma'am.
You reached the home safely?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please take care, ma. Please take care.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Tirthi Dedgaur Patil, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you following, man?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Very good. Have you completed noting down this problem? Because I want to know from one of you that you finished it. Let me go back to solving.
Yes, ma'am.
Kaveshri, this diploma students, please, one of you try to get connected to Kaveshri. I felt she's not getting connected. Please find out with her with your contacts and let her attend the classes. So, dear students, hope you have noted down the problem. Can I assume that you have noted it down?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so just keep it there, and because for the next problems we'll be using this figure because the same figure would be given somewhere and you can't see that, so just don't want that to happen. That's why. Okay, now I'm just stop sharing it. I'm going to share something else. You please, by the time you open the problem, what I had given you uh, with the two inputs. Okay, so I have given you some problem
Excuse
with
me, ma'am.
R1 and
Can you show it once more?
yeah. Can you see this now? 1 minute. 1 minute. Yeah. Yes. After finishing it, please let me know, ma. From
Ma'am,
next week,
ma'am,
yeah,
in the S4, is that a plus or a minus where
that's a
G4 is
plus.
attaching?
That's a plus one. That's a plus. S4 is having two terminals positive. S3 is having forward path terminal positive, reverse path, feedback path negative. S2 forward path positive, feedback path negative. S1 with RS is positive, with the feedback is negative. Right? Shall I stop sharing it, man?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So I'll share some other problem. Okay. In the meanwhile, you please open the problem what I had given with the two inputs to you. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. Second. It's 1 second. There is some problem with the thing what I would like to share. So Have you opened the problem with the
Yes,
two
ma'am.
inputs? Yeah.
When Kavyashree contacted me,
Ah,
she
yeah.
told that she had a mic problem.
She had a
attended-
mic. Okay. Then good. Okay. Because I should know, right? Otherwise, I have to take care of it. So because no problem. But I don't know whether she would have given it in the chat box. I think I don't know. So let me share. Share. The screen. Can you see this screen, ma? Yeah. One second. Yeah, please give me some time because there is some thing which I'm trying to start from the beginning. I think even this is not able to open. Please bear with me. I thought it would be opened. Okay. So this is all the thing which I'm trying to do, but I don't know what is. Okay, then I think I have to go ahead with that because I have actually solved it in some other module, and then I thought I would able to share. So you can see the board, right? Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Please come back to the problem with the R2. I gave you a problem with R1 and R2, correct? With R1 and R2 as input. And then in yesterday's class, we found out CS by R1. Yes, correct? Then I asked you to find out CS by R2. Actually, I solved it and I don't know why it's not shareable. Okay. So R2S has to be found out. So for that, in order to find out C by R2S, you have to put R1 as 0. So this is what we have just seen. Okay. Now, can you tell me what are the steps to be done? One of you. So look at the figure and then just tell me because I guess everyone is having the circuit with you, the block diagram with you. Can you see the block diagram with R1 and R2? Yes, sir. No. One of you tell me. If you are not having, or if you have a problem of getting it, I'll give you the block diagram quickly for the one with the R2 input. One block is having G1 and it is also having block with G2. Okay. And it is having a summing element with the negative input. There is some feedback. Okay. So the feedback is H3. Fine. And another forward path having another summing element. And this H3 is getting its output there. Then you have another summing element with R2 as input. And after which you have G3.
I think it's different circuit which you have given yesterday.
Sorry. Sorry.
Ma'am, I think G2 is in between those two summing elements, ma'am. In yesterday's circuit.
I simplified when I gave. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Because I have taken out the G2 element that I have given you. The maybe that particular thing. So yeah. So G1 with yes summing element. Thank you for that thing. G2. Then another summing element. Okay. Another summing element with R2. S1, S2, S3. Okay. Then you have G3 and to this negative terminal. That means to this negative terminal, we have H2. I think you should be having it. Okay. This is feedback. And from G1, okay. But here in between, you have one block minus H1 is there. This one here. Yeah. Which is minus H1. Okay. I call it as S2. Why S2? S1 is missing. S1 was having the input as R1. We made R1 0 and removed S1. Okay. So with that only I have just started. And also we have O to the S2 negative input terminal. You have H3. Okay. That H3 is coming in between two of them. Okay. So there is a takeoff point between the summing element S3 and S4. Okay. So sorry for the very bad drawing. Please bear with me. Actually, I have drawn it very neatly and I have solved it, but somehow that file is not getting opened. I don't know. Okay. So this was the thing given. Okay. So quickly, you have to follow the steps, whatever I am giving it, and you have to tell me what is the output. This is a block diagram. We are trying to find out the CS by R2 for this. We are trying to find out CS by R2 with R1 0. That is what is our intention. Okay. Now I'm asking you to move the summing element S2 behind G2. Okay. Move the summing element S2 behind G2. Okay, I'll say that. Step 1 anyway, summing element was eliminated. So what we say is here, I'm asking you to, it is obvious because already I have done, eliminate S1 and make R1 equal to 0. Now step 2 is move the summing element S2 behind G2. So when you are moving the summing element S2, you could see that S2 is getting attached with H3, correct? Is it having H3? Yes. So it is having H3. So what should be the new value of that block when it is moved? Okay, the summing element is having an attachment as H3. So when I am moving the summing element behind block G2, should H3 be multiplied with G2 or should H3 be divided by G2? What should happen? Someone should tell me that. We have done so many quizzes, and in spite of that also, if you are not telling me, then I feel
Multiply by G2.
multiply by G2. Wonderful. Very good. Very good. So all of you move your S2, that is move S2 has been moved behind G2, okay? With whatever H3 was having, this H3 is getting multiplied with G2, okay? Then you have your S3 with a negative input, and you have your takeoff point, okay? Then you have your another summing element S4 to which R2 is applied. Rest all is same. Rest you complete it as it is because of this place thing and because of this thickness of the pen. I am doing it very properly. Okay. And this fellow with minus H1. Okay. This is also another takeoff point. Actually, I told you this is also another takeoff point. It is takeoff point one, I can say. Fine. So S2 behind G2 has been done. Then you could see that G1, G2 and minus this H1 are in cascade. So let us go for this step 3. Hope this is clear. I'm just moving off. Okay. So step 3 is cascade G1, G2 and minus H1. All the three are in cascade. So replace them with a single term. Fine. So draw the block diagram having one block minus G1, G2, H1, applied it to the summing element S2. Okay. Then between summing element S2 and S3, there is a one blank line. Okay. Do that. After doing that, step 4 is interchange can also have the interchanging of the blocks. Okay, this is S2. I'm writing after step 3 what we have got, and you have to do something to this with the step 4. Minus G1, G2, H1. Fine. So goes there. And this fellow with a minus sign. This fellow S3 with a minus sign. Okay. And you have this fellow with G2H3. Fine. Take a point. And S4 having R2 as input. G3 is 1 here, and G3 is also having H2, 2 feedbacks from G3, and 1 forward path to C of S. This is what resulted after step 3. Now what I'll do is, I'll do the interchanging of S2 and S3. Okay. Step 4 is to interchange the summing elements S2 and S3. So according to the block diagram rule, I just want to tell you that if I have some element with A, B, assuming that all are positive, A plus B, correct? And it is having C, A plus B plus C. And if I interchange A, okay. If I interchange them, the C is an input, A and B are the other inputs. A and C are the inputs and B is the other input. Okay. If you interchange them with the input C and with the input B here, input A is unchanged. So S2 and SA are just interchanged. So you are going to get the output as A plus B plus C only. So this is a simple thing with the combination A plus B plus C can be taken it anyway. So in the same way, now we are interchanging the S2 and S3. Okay. After doing so, what is that we are going to get? That is what I am drawing here, because we have to simplify it, right? So interchanging, step 4 is interchanging the summing elements S2 and S3. And I'll tell you one thing. See, whatever I'm trying to do is I'm trying to apply whatever is convenient for me, whichever rule is convenient for me, which I can apply. But you can apply the rules according to the line of thought, what you get it. But the rules have to be applied without changing the laws of generality. Then you can always solve it the way in which you can do it, and it can give you the finally the output must be the same. That's what is intended. Okay, so you can do it in G2 H3 is connected to negative terminal. Okay. By interchanging so and combining them, we are going to get it like this. Interchanging S2 and S3 and combining them as a single one. We have eliminated S3. So combined interchange and combined S2 and S3. S3 and S4 are there. So eliminate S3 now. I can say step 5. Step 3 is interchanging of S2 and S3. And then step 5 is from the obtained diagram, eliminate S3. So to eliminate S3, this is step 5, okay? To eliminate S3, you could see here that S3 is having something. Forward path is having a gain of 1. That is G. In place of G, you have 1. And in the feedback, you have G2H3 connected to the negative terminal. So can you replace it and modify it? In step 5, you have to eliminate S3. In step 4, you have to interchange S2 and S3 and combine them. You get S3 only with the 3 inputs. That's what I have shown you. Now you have to eliminate S3. Okay. When you eliminate S3, you get something, and for that you have to do some operation on step 3. So when you eliminate S3, what is that you are going to get? 1 by 1 plus G2H3 connected to input R2. Okay. Maybe my numbering S2, S3 is changing. You have to please take care of it. Okay. But only the thing is, looking at the figure, you can identify what is that I'm trying to do, what has been retained. So because I have interchanged, my H2 has been dragged to here. Okay. And my another input is now again in step 6, if you look at it, you can easily see that there is no need of, okay, if you look at it, G3 is there, H2 is there, G1 is there, all those things, and you can look at H2 and minus H1 G2. Okay, you can look at H2 and minus G1 G2 H1. They are starting from the same point and they are connected to the same summing element. That means I can say these two are in parallel. So what we have to do is you have to say that the two blocks are parallel and you have to replace them with the addition. Okay, with the thing. So what I am doing it, I am considering H2 and minus G1 G2 H1 as parallel in step 6. So for that equivalent diagram I am going to draw. Okay, I am replacing the parallel combination with the summation. Fine. So I am going to the next step, which is step 7, where step 7 will be indicating me what I have to do. Okay, what I have to do, but what is that I have done before this? I have done. Okay. So now step 7, I have to do something, but before doing something, I have to put that step 6 outcome, where the step 6 outcome says that take the combination of the two elements which are parallel. So before that, in the forward path, I have 1 by 1 plus G2H3, correct? This is there. And I have my summing element with R2 input. This is there. Correct? And from there, I have my forward element, one more forward element. Which is G3, it is there. And then I know that there are two elements which are parallel. That is, we have noted down that two elements which are parallel. So I am trying to see the output of that by taking them parallel. Okay. So what is that parallel element? Two elements which are parallel are minus H1, G1, G2, which is in parallel with minus H2, because those two things were parallel, though they were in the negative feedback, but they are starting at the same terminal and they are getting added with the thing. So this is the thing which I get it in step 7 as a result of whatever has been obtained before. Now in step 7, what I have to do, looking at this, I know that again, by observing in step 7 as a result of 6, I can see that this block and this block are in cascade. So you can see here. So you have some blocks which are in cascade. So you have to, because this is a negative feedback path, I'm not saying that G3 and this block is cascade. I'm not saying it because this is in the forward path. There is a takeoff point and this fellow is coming back. Okay. So I can say that only these two red marked blocks are in cascade. So I'll write in step 7. Hope you people are following. Please observe the diagram and see whatever I am putting it there. I think it would be clear then. So I say here the blocks which are cascade, 2 blocks are in cascade. So replace them. Okay. So when I replace them, I would be getting some output as a result of action done in step 7. So what has to be done in step 8? I have to look and decide based on this output what I have got in step 7. Okay. So I have to decide what I have to do in step 8. So for that, I have to take about, according to the previous instruction, what I have to do, I have to take the things in cascade, right? So my R2, my G3, if I'm trying to rearrange by taking for the cascade, okay? So this is C of S, but then to the positive terminal of the same thing, I have certain things which are in cascade. What is a cascade? Minus H1, G1, G2, minus H2 whole divided by, this I'll write it properly and mark it. So they take the product of those two. Okay, that would be the thing. Okay. So let me just write it. Okay, minus H1, G1, G2 minus H2 by 1 plus G2 H3. This is the result of the cascading, and this is your C of S. Okay. Now you look at it, you have R2 as an input, CS as an output, you have G3 in the forward path, in the feedback path, this entire block which is connected to positive terminal. So the same thing I can little modify it in order to match with whatever conventionally we are looking at it. So in the step 7, in order to see this, what I would do is I'm just manipulating the circuit diagram only. So I'm not changing anything. Instead of putting the positive terminal there, I'll put the positive terminal here. I'll take this positive terminal. So if you look at R2 is applied as an input, G3 is a forward path, CS is an output, and this is a feedback element, and the positive terminal is a feedback terminal. So you have to find the gain. Okay, eliminate the feedback. So what is the gain? The gain would be G3 by 1 plus, because 1, this is a positive input, right? So G3 by 1 minus of all these terms. So let me write the gain here. So C of S by R2. So I'm eliminating the feedback in step 8, which gives me C of S by R2 would be forward path gain G3 by, it should have been plus if it is a minus input, but because we are applying it to the this thing, so it is 1 minus of H1, G1, G2 minus H2 whole divided by 1 plus G2 H3 into G3, because it is like G by 1 minus G into H. So you have to take LCM, bring this H2 G3 here, 1 plus G2 H3, minus of minus is plus, plus. So all these things you have to do. Let us simplify that as well. Okay. So I'm trying to do here the final output. Again, G3 by LCM 1 plus G2 H3. This LCM also goes here. 1 plus G2 H3. That means G3 plus G2 G3 H3 plus H1 G1 G3 okay, plus H2 G3. Okay. So you have to G2. This is also G2 G3. So you have to get the equation. So now according to this problem, you have found out CS by R2. In the previous class, you found out CS by R1. Now the total response is CS by R1 plus CS by R2. Okay, this is the thing. And now I have given you one problem at the beginning, right? Okay, so I won't solve it, but I'll tell you some inputs. Okay, then I'll release the quiz. Fine. So based on the whatever I'm explaining now, based on that only would be your quiz. So let me just show you. I'll share the problem again, whatever I have. Whether it is there or not. I have. So what you do is you just open the problem. Okay, I'll be telling you the rules. Okay, what are the rules that are to be applied? I'll tell you, and you just try to solve that. Can anyone start telling me how to solve it? Step 1. Open the problem, what I have given you in the class now. One has to tell me what is this step 1.
G2 and G3 in cascading.
G2 and G3 in cascade is the step 1. Fine. Fine, that is fine. So step 1 is, someone says G2 and G3 cascade. Fine, correct. How many takeoff points according to your observation? See, I'm just telling you, you look at the problem and try to visualize it, because I'm just going to give you quickly inputs, and based on this only you are going to solve the quiz. So I want you to apply your thought process here, because everything if I'm solving, you might think that maybe this is this way. Okay, you feel that you have understood, or you feel that, oh, this is like this. But you have to apply your process, right? You have thought process, you have to apply. So one is, the thing is that it is having S1, S2, S3, S4, 4 summing elements. Mark them. Fine. I'm just telling you have S1, S2, S3 and S4 summing elements. And you have 2 takeoff points, correct? One takeoff point is after S3, another takeoff point is after S4. Okay? That also I'm giving. One is after S3 and this is after S4. Getting it? Then how do you, after cascading it, how do you simplify it? Because I just want to take G4, which is in parallel. I want to take G4 into parallel. Is G4 parallel with that? G1 and G2?
Yes, ma'am. We can replace by G4 plus G2, G3.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you have your thing G2, G3 were in cascade and it is in parallel with G4. So that is also done. Now tell me, you have S1, S2, S3 and you have TP1, correct? And you have feedback of H2, that is there. Between S3 and S4, you have your G2, G3 plus G4, correct? Now tell me, after doing so,
Excuse me, ma'am.
do you want S4 to be there or you can remove it? Do you, after combining G2, G3 with G4, do you still want to?
We can remove it.
You can remove S4 because it is only having one input and one output. Okay.
Excuse me,
So
ma'am.
what you have to do is after adding G2, G3 plus G4, after this block, remove S4. S4 is not required. Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am. I have a doubt.
Yes.
Ma'am, H1, there is a feedback after G2, ma'am. So can we cascade G2 on G3?
Not after G4. Where is your cascade?
No,
Feedback
after
is
G2.
after G3, after the summing element.
No, ma'am. H1 is
Ma'am,
after G2, no, ma'am.
H1 is not after G2. Before G2 it is there.
Okay, ma'am.
H1,
According to the
please look.
diagram,
I don't
H1
know
is
what
after
I
G2.
there is
It is
takeoff
G1.
point.
No. See, it's like this. S1,
One is
S2.
in between G2 and G3, ma'am.
It was in between G2 and G3. I think I had given it wrong. Then I am referring to some other.
Ma'am, then we have to shift it and then we have to
Okay,
So we
cascade.
can't cascade G2 and G3, ma'am.
No, if it is there in between, because if your TP is between G2 and G3, then you can't take the cascade. You
Yes,
can't
ma'am. That's one.
cascade. So in that case, you see, someone has to tell me, somebody who has studied G2, G3 is cascade, because there is a problem of me not having the actual figure. Okay. So now G2 and G3 cannot be cascade because of the takeoff point, right? Takeoff point is not after S3. Takeoff point is between G2 and G3. I told you, there is some problem between this figure G2 and G3. That's what I lost that figure. I just deleted because it was getting open, no? So I just deleted it. So it was like this, TP1, correct? It was given
Yes,
like
ma'am.
this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, fine. So when you look at starting from the beginning, you might be having S1, S2, S3, S4. Okay. And you have a TP1. Okay. TP1 between G2 and G3. Fine. And you have TP2 after the summing element S4. That is fine. Okay. Now I know that I can make G2, G3 cascade only when I can move my TP, okay, ahead of G2. Do you agree? I have to move TP1 ahead of G2. Can I do that? Okay. So what you do is move TP1 ahead of G2. While doing so, you have to change your value of H1, which is connected to TP. Okay. So what has to be done when you move your takeoff point ahead of a block? What you have to do is you have to push this fellow instead of here. You have to bring that fellow here. Okay. When you are bringing it here, this fellow is having an attachment, right? So this attachment has to be taken care by G2. Maybe you have to multiply or maybe you have to divide according to that. So I'm instructing you that the step 1 is to move the takeoff point TP1 ahead of G2 and do the appropriate change to the H1. Maybe H1 has to be multiplied with G2. So once you do that, you please do that. Once you do that, your step 2 would be your G2, G3, G4 would be cascade and parallel. Agreed?
Yes, ma'am.
Agreed?
Yes, ma'am.
So step 1 is moving TP1 ahead of G2 taking care of what has to be done to that H1 then when you move it ahead of G2? Should it be multiplied with G2 or should it be divided with G2? Takeoff point ahead of block.
Multiplied by G2.
Multiplied by G2. So you have to multiply your H1 with G2, okay? And keep the takeoff point ahead of G2. Then when you look at the change block diagram, maybe you would be having a takeoff point here, TP1 here, and your G2 is here, your G3 is here, okay? And it is in parallel with your G4. So now you replace these things. So step 2 is to replace the 3 blocks as G2, G3 plus G4. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
What would be step 3?
Remove S4.
Remove S4. Yes, remove S4. Wonderful. Then after removing the S4, okay, maybe the next step is move summing element S3 ahead of G1. Move summing element S3 ahead of G1. So move S3. You have to shift it because in order to get this thing, you have to move it ahead of G1. And again, you have to remember when you are moving summing element ahead of G1, it is having an attachment of H2, right? So that attachment has to be taken care. So what has to be done when you are moving summing element ahead of a block?
Multiply by G1.
Is it multiply? No.
Divide by
When for
G1.
when for takeoff point ahead you are multiplying, the opposite is
Multiplication of 1 by G1, ma'am.
yes. Multiply. See, please remember, I have given you a hint, right? If you remember for one thing, either for takeoff point or for the summing element ahead, what has to be done, and what you say behind what has to be done. Okay. The reverse is true for the summing element. What you do for a takeoff point ahead, okay, the same thing is applicable for summing point when it is moved behind. Okay, opposite, ulta. So now because you have moved your summing point ahead of G1, you have to multiply it with 1 by G1. Correct now? By doing so, are you getting anything?
Ma'am, we again get that takeoff point of 1 in between G1 and G2, G3, ma'am.
Takeoff point between G2, G3 has been moved in front of G2. Ma. Takeoff point, what was there between G1 and G2 has been moved in front of G2. Correct? That was in the step 1. Now what you are doing is you are just moving off your summing element S3 with its attachment of H2 as it is and putting just ahead of G1. That's what you are doing it. By doing so, you have to take care of your H2 to be multiplied with 1 by G1.
Interchanging S2, S3.
Sorry?
Interchanging of summing elements, ma'am. S2 and S3.
Yes. Wonderful. Who is this?
Vaishnavi, ma'am.
Vaishnavi, very good. So, the one step is you have to move S3 ahead of G1. After that, you have to interchange elements S2 and S3. Okay, interchange. Next step. When you interchange, you could see that there is something which is of the form no, G by 1 plus G into H. Okay. And when you interchange also, you can combine S2 and S3 as a single element. Interchange. So to make it as a single element, when you do so, you would be having some elements in cascade in the forward path, and you will be having one element in the feedback path. You have to find the gain of that. So you will be get rid of another summing element. Finally, you will be left off with one summing element S1, okay, which is having the cascaded elements in forward path and in the feedback path with the gain 1, and you have to simplify it. Okay, so the step is move S3 ahead of G1, then you have to interchange S2 and S3. Okay, combine S2 and S3 as 1. You could see some forward element and one feedback element, simplify them. You can get rid of S3. Finally, you'll be having S1 with a forward element and with the feedback gain as 1. Simplify it, you'll be getting the gain. Okay, that is the process. Okay, so I have given you all these steps and I made you to understand to some extent that how it has to be done. Now it is the time for us to go for the quiz. Okay, my quiz is fully based on this. Okay, let us see how do you do that. Let me share the quiz link. Yes, I have shared the link. Please open the link and just let me know whether you could able to open. Okay, and then write your name, USN. Okay, then try to answer it. Whether you get it or not, don't worry about the marks. Please try to understand whatever has been done, how it has to be done. See what are the various combinations. Okay, how to move, all those things you have to see it. Okay, you finish it and submit it. It's already 12:25. So maybe after, I'll give you a little more time, maybe after 10-15 minutes, after seeing the responses, maybe another 20 minutes after I'll close the quiz. Fine. Please, you have to solve many problems in order to understand the concept. So in the next class, we'll be talking about signal flow graphs. Okay. So from the notes, you please read and come with the signal flow graphs and let us solve them. It will be easy for me to teach them. Okay. So take care. Try to submit the quiz. Okay. After 20 minutes. Okay. I'll just close the quiz. Fine. Take care, ma. I'm signing off.